What is going on, folks? Welcome back to week 4 of the Foundations of Self-Talk course with InnerLoop Sports. This is the home stretch. I am pumped that you're here and I'm ready to really finish on a strong note. So I hope you are too. Over the first 3 weeks of this course, you built a rock solid foundation in self-talk. Let's break that down just briefly. Week 1, we discussed what self-talk is. We looked at examples from the pros to really give this image a little more clarity. And we started to explore the impact that your self-talk can have on your body and ultimately your physical performance. In week 2, we started to customize or personalize this conversation of self-talk a little bit more. First, by identifying the what, when, and how of your self-talk. What does it sound like? When does it show up? And how does it show up? What's the tone? What's the energy? We then took that a step further, began connecting dots by looking at the 3 impact zones that self-talk has a massive influence on. Those 3 impact zones are our mind, our body, and our game. Each one of those is impacted by the words we say to ourselves. And as we all know, we all talk to ourselves. In fact, research shows 96% of people have an ongoing conversation with themselves, either internally or externally. Week 3, we dove into the concept of neutral thinking. This is to start to give us a framework, a certain way that we can bring this self-talk to life, right? It's not just ideas and concepts and theories, it's actually an applied method that we can use. We looked at 2 specific types of neutral thinking. First, the accept and acknowledge method, where we accept the adversity, we accept what's happened, but we also acknowledge the good. We acknowledge what we liked about our process, about our controllable elements. We then also, last week, looked at the secondary method of neutral thinking, the accept and dig method. This is where, again, we accept the reality. We accept what has happened, whether it's good or not. But then we also dig out the new opportunity that has been created. Based off of what has happened, what do we now have the chance to go and do? Again, this style of neutral thinking puts us back in a position of power. It puts us back in a position of control where we say, all right, I'm excited now about what I'm about to do. This week, we're going to take all of that and we're going to make it even more approachable, more digestible. Flat out, we're just going to make it easier to use in a typical round. We're going to do this by thinking about it in a 3-phase framework: pre-shot, post-shot, and in-between shot. These are the 3 phases. These are the 3 areas we're going to take these ideas of self-talk and start to focus them into. So no longer do you need to be concerned with it all. No longer do you need to be concerned with what it is and why it happens and where it happens and what does neutral sound like. Instead, we're just going to focus our attention on pre-shot, post-shot, and between shot, and how our self-talk shows up in each of those phases. This week, we're going to dive into each one of those phases in a little more detail. Tomorrow, we'll start with pre-shot. Day after, we'll take a look at post-shot. And then on Thursday, we'll look at in-between shot. For today, though, we're just going to plant the seed. We're just going to lay the foundation. And your challenge is going to involve a little bit of experimentation around this. I don't want to put too many rules or barriers or constraints on things quite yet. I want you to just get out there and play with the idea. In order to do that, here is a real quick and easy description of what each one of these phases tends to focus on, what it tends to be centered around when it comes to our self-talk. Phase number 1 is the pre-shot phase. This phase is all about setting ourselves up for success. It's about preparation and commitment. This is where we lock ourselves in mentally before we even take the club back and put a swing on things. The goal here is to use your self-talk to be present with your process and allow the thoughts of outcomes and results and these things to just stay out there in the distance. They can be there, but we don't need to be concerned with them right here and now. The pre-shot process is where your instructional self-talk can really come in handy. For example, talking yourself through target selection, talking yourself through reading the conditions, the wind, etc. Phase 2 that we're going to focus on is the post-shot phase. This is after I've put my swing on things. This is after I've seen the ball flight, or if we're on the green, this is after I've seen whether it went in or out of the cup. This is typically an area a lot of golfers overlook, frankly, which I think is a massive mistake because typically this is where the most emotions arise. Good or bad, tends to be where they are most intense. And those intense emotions are the elements that open the door to distractions, get us off path, and ultimately off our game. This post-shot phase is where neutral thinking can really come in handy. This is where we can talk ourselves through emotions. This is where we can talk ourselves through the reality and get ourselves back to the present. And finally, phase 3 is the between shot phase. This is after our post-shot routine, after we've processed, and as we are walking, or if you're in a cart, riding to find our ball and get ready for the next swing, or our playing partner's swing for that matter. Many golfers overlook this period, thinking it's just extra time while you're out there. So we let our mind go, we talk about whatever, we spiral further, we get stuck on tangents, soapboxes, you name it. But what we've seen from some of the best is that they use this time intentionally. Take Neil Shipley, for example. There's been examples that he'll actually use math problems as a way to keep his mind engaged in a playful and casual manner without getting lost or distracted in between shots. Pre-shot, post-shot, between shot. These are the 3 phases we're going to really hone in on our self-talk. Again, we don't need to be too concerned anymore with what self-talk is or why it shows up, how it shows up. You've got those basics down. Today and for the rest of this week, we're thinking about the application of these ideas. And we're going to try to create a system out of that that makes it easy to integrate. Today, here's your challenge. I want you to go out and experiment with these 3 phases. And specifically, all I'm going to ask you to do is be a little more aware, a little more conscious of how you spend this time within these 3 phases, that is. Be a little more aware of what you do in your pre-shot routine. Be a little more aware of what you do post-shot after you've seen that ball flight, after you've seen that outcome. What are your tendencies? And then lastly, be a little more aware, a little more conscious of how you spend that time in between shots. If you want to experiment with some more intentional kind of practices or focuses during those times, great, please do. There's no need to be perfect. There's no right or wrong with today. Again, we're just experimenting. We're bringing a little more focus to these areas. We're seeing what shows up. We're seeing what we like in those spaces. And then over the next few days, we'll dive into each one specifically, really building out a nice structure so that you can use these phases as efficiently and as effectively as possible. That said, thank you again for tuning in today. Absolutely pumped we've had the chance to talk. Now get out there, have a go at things, analyze that round, see what new information pops up, and we'll talk tomorrow.